This always fascinates me when there's like a line. I can't see the sun, but when there's like a line in the clouds like that, I always think that looks so cool. Another line in the sky. I think this is from an airplane where it just moved. Cool. Okay, I had to pause my reading for this. I have sunglasses on, so I'm not sure how well y'all can see, but up there's like a rainbow on the line. Cool. Welcome to the first vlog of 2026. Happy New Year. If you are new here, hi, my name is Elizabeth. My name is Izzy on YouTube because back in the day, I was a kid. I was a kid before. The internet was a big, bad, scary place. So my parents were like, you can't put your real name on the internet because you'll get kidnapped and killed. That is why I don't have my real name in here. But I do think in like 2030, I might do a rebrand. I know. I think that far into the future. Yeah. This week's vlog, we are going to be focusing on reading my book club's pick, which is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This is a piece of translated fiction. We'll get to that in a moment. But I do want to go through the weekly TBR. So the book that I'm starting my day with and what I'm reading when I work out in the morning, which we're doing very light workouts because I've had this bubonic plague. I don't really have the bubonic plague, but I honestly think a new pandemic's coming on because so many people have been sick, testing negative for the flu, COVID, all these things. And it's like, what's wrong with us? Because like my throat, okay, I kind of screwed up last night by having the fan on because I could not sleep. So I was trying everything. So I made my sore throat hurt a little bit more. I still have like a dry cough. I never had a fever, and I'm seeing so many reels and TikToks of people being sick. I don't know what's up with all that. I think it's a pandemic, if I'm being honest with y'all. But the first book is Thrall. This is poems by Natasha Trethewey. This one is this author who is mixed race, and she is looking at how mixed-raced people have been viewed in American history. I don't even want to just say America, maybe just in history, but of how those people have been viewed by society, and then going to her own personal experience as well. Again, I'm about 47% into that. The next one is our book club book. So y'all, if you want my spoilery thoughts, click the Fable link down below in the description. It's free, not sponsored. But this is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman with an afterword by Sophie McIntosh, translated by Ross Schinwartz. Yeah, sorry, the H was kind of scratched. Deep underground, 39 women live imprisoned in a cage, watched over by guards. The women have no memory of how they got there, no notion of time, and only a vague recollection of their lives before. As the burn of electric light merges day into night, and numerous years pass, a young girl, the 40th prisoner, sits alone, an outcast in the corner. Soon she will show herself to be the key to the others' escape and survival in the strange world that awaits them above ground. This one I am going to be doing the audiobook of, and in 2026, I am focusing on reading the shortest books on my TBR according to Goodreads, and this is one of the shortest science fiction books on my TBR. Then we have my mood read, which again, I'm about 40-something% into, and that is The Mozart Code by Rachel McMillan. Historical romance, I think is how this is listed or whatever, but we have two characters who come from nobility in England. We have Sophia, who this is set after World War II in Vienna, and she is kind of an arts dealer. After the war, or during the war, a lot of the art was stolen, hidden, and her job is to get that art back to where it's supposed to go or get it for different people. And then we have our male character of Simon, who he also comes from nobility, but has a very like sticky relationship with his family, and that is what made him join like the war effort. So he is an MI6 agent, and he is in Vienna, and this is kind of going between Vienna and Prague, but Vienna is very close in its elections where it could fall to communism or it could stay an allied city, and his job is, you know, just like kind of spying on the communists. But Sophia has been given this task to find the death mask of Mozart. It is turning out to be a very like deadly mission. Next book that I am reading is my ebook, and that is When Women Ruled the World by Cara Cooney, Six Queens of Egypt. Pretty much what it says. We are just going over the lives of 6 queens of Egypt. I'm currently on Cleopatra VII, who is like the Cleopatra that everybody hears about. And those are all of the books that I am starting this new year with. Don't know what this lighting's gonna be like. Is this all gonna be kind of weird until my Christmas tree comes down, and then I can move all my stuff around to make this more presentable? But like, I saw this influencer who I follow, who I kind of enjoy her videos. She just did it with a really warm light, and I'm like, you can only do that if you have like 5,000 followers, because if you don't, people are gonna be like, it's really bad quality. Like, they're not actively gonna comment that, at least on mine they wouldn't comment that, but like, you can only have that kind of lighting if you already have a following. It's really interesting how all of that works. I'm like, why can I not have that kind of lighting? Because if I did that kind of lighting, people would just exit out the video instead of watching it, getting 2,000 views. How does the human mind work? And that is something that is great about science fiction, is uncovering what makes us human. I did not prepare that transition at all. It just came to me like that. That was really nice. I got to a third of the way into the book. I'm on page 60, which is basically 2 hours into the audiobook, and I have found a way of how I'm going to do the sections on the Fable app, because there are no chapters in this book. You have the book and the afterword, and that's all. I'm so curious when this was published. All I see on the back is that the author was born in 1929, and this is back in print for the first time since 1997, so I don't know if it was published in 97 originally, or did it go out of publishing in 1997. I don't know when to picture this taking place. It's really fascinating. At this point, it's not a 5-star read, and I usually know about 25% of the way into a book if it's 5-star or not, but it is good. This is really fascinating. It has my attention. I mean, it could go up to a higher rating. We will just have to see, but right now, I'm gonna say somewhere in the high 3-star, 4-star category. We are going to go through my notes. I have notes on the first page, because literally this is like just what a way to start a book, because we have our character. We don't know her name. I don't even know if she knows her name. And she is saying, I spend a lot of time in one of the armchairs rereading the books. And she's talking about how there is only a preface. It said, I only recently started taking an interest in the prefaces. Literally, that's the second sentence in the book. And they're talking about the start of a book at the start of a book. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, clever. And is this the character looking back at their life? And I do think that is the case, that this is a character telling us their story. This is what confirmed it for me on page 5. I never thought about the past. I lived in a perpetual present, and I was gradually forgetting my story, so that's why they felt the need to tell their story, why she felt the need to tell her story. These are my two, if you like this, you might like this. This kind of, the way it's written, like the way she speaks, and then on the audiobook as well, reminds me of Eleven from Stranger Things. This might just be because Stranger Things is fresh in my mind, but Eleven, and this is literally first episode of Stranger Things ever, trailer season 1, I'm not spoiling anything. Eleven is a little girl who had her childhood taken from her because she was in a lab, and she is now out of that lab and is trying to make sense of all of this world. Our characters here, and our main character, who is a child, and she's really the only child, she's a teenager at this point, but she is a teenager and she has only known this world of being locked away. Literally has no idea what the outside looks like. There are no windows. This is all that she knows. Also, I don't know why this reminds me of Clan of the Cave Bear. I said maybe because our character is an outsider compared to the rest of the group of people, and only is like dystopian, post-apocalyptic. I'm not sure what this is going to be between those two things. You kind of go back to the basics. Things get primitive, and Clan of the Cave Bear takes place thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, and I just think it's that primitive nature of, okay, At the end of the day, what makes us human without all this material, modern stuff around us, what makes us human? Because that is in primitive times, that's really, you know, all that's there. Just my theory on that of why I always think dystopian and Neolithic time periods remind me of each other. My theory of all these women being in this bunker, they think they're in a bunker, they're not really exactly sure what they're in. I think that this is some kind of science experiment where they are being observed. They are being observed, but we only see the guards. There's maybe scientists watching them, just seeing what happens to somebody who is locked in without windows or anything for that long. But there's so many different things that could be going on here that really I have no idea, but that's my theory at the moment. There's a quote, "In their previous lives, the women had worked, borne children, and made love. All I knew was that these things were greatly valued. What use were we here?" And I think those things, that's another thing. Is that what makes us human? Working, having a family, and love. I love sci-fi that asks those kinds of questions. I'd eat, sleep, and die alone without having understood our fate or why it had been inflicted on us. Sorry. I was scared stiff. So that is why I think, because she's saying if everybody else dies out, because she is the youngest one there, so she's assuming that she or the other women have assumed that she'll be the last one, and she is so much younger that she's going to be all on her own for an extended time period. I think that's why they don't tell us if aliens exist or if religion's not real, which, I mean, y'all know I do believe in religion, and I do think aliens are out there, but it's just because it's such it makes life seem so minuscule, and I know a lot of people are like, what's the purpose of life? The reason why, if they do know, the higher powers, the government, whatever, if they know, they don't tell us because it would scare us stiff. Because but also that's like, if we are alone in the universe, like, what's the point? We're just eating, sleeping, and dying. It's scary. Either way you look at it, it's scary. So little idea what it meant to have a destiny that you can't understand what it means to be deprived as we are. That's a quote that I underlined. Destiny. Is that something that makes us human? Then this one, ignorance is bliss. I make these videos so people educate themselves. That's one of the reasons that people will go pick up books and be educated. But it says, "I don't want to talk anymore," I told her. "I was happier when I hadn't understood anything. When I hated you all because you kept your secrets. You don't have any. You have nothing, and there's nothing to be had." And yeah, I mean, it kind of goes in with the aliens of us not knowing about them. Ignorance is bliss, right? And then I loved on page 54, like this, when they get above ground, and it's our main character seeing the world for the first time, and just the description, like this description is freedom. Like, it doesn't say the word freedom, but this is freedom. Underlined, but as I said, really it could be the whole paragraph. "I was possessed by a wild joy that was heedless of all else," and that is the definition of freedom, in my opinion, in this situation. So a lot of the women are just kind of scared when they get out there. They don't know what to do, and our character doesn't understand. She's like, "We're free. We're not locked in this cage anymore. Why are you so scared?" It's a fear of the unknown. Sure, these women did live in the world before. We don't even know if they're on Earth, to be honest with y'all. Out of this cage for the first time in 12 years, what they think has been 12 years, because they don't know how long they've been in there. It's fear of the unknown. They don't know what's out there. They don't know what's going to happen to them. The fear of the unknown. Oh, it's so scary. So this is just going into, like, what makes us human, and so much that we take for granted. The things that I said, like working, having a family, having love, and just little things of knowledge. Like, one is like having a period, like she doesn't understand that, or just having a relationship with somebody. These are all things where it's like, yeah, that's just part of being human. That's in your instincts. You know how that works. But no, you have to have somebody to teach you, and we just take so much for granted. So that is my notes for day one of I Who Have Never Known Men. Fun fact, today is the first day that I've read over 100 pages in 2026. I read 45 pages in the Mozart Code. I am now at the halfway point. I'm at 51%. So I do want to give y'all my notes on the second quarter of this book. So as I told y'all, this is kind of like a spy book, and that's why I picked it up, because it's not like a straight up like John Le Carre or what, I probably said his name wrong, but more, I feel like even those kind of books are commercial, but just more of like a female perspective and all. This just seemed easier to me when I got this book in 2022. I didn't necessarily want to write something in this time period, but more so in like the 1980s, like that part of the Cold War, because this is like the very start of the Cold War. But I did want just to have some inspiration, and that's why I bought this book originally. Cold War, that's what we're talking about. They're on this mission, they're on separate missions, but I do think it is going to be interconnected. We don't know that for a fact, that's just a theory. I have this guy who they think is up to no good, who they think is a bad guy. I think that guy is actually trying to stop them from going on this mission to protect them. Again, just a random theory that I have had. Really caring for the dual timelines. I don't think it was really necessary, because we're seeing these two characters before they got involved with the war effort back when they were in England, and then in the present day, you know, in the after the war and in Vienna. When we go back, I'm like, I don't really care to go back to 1940 London. Crazy, I know that I'm saying that. I am more invested in our modern day, our present timeline, rather than the flashback scenes, which is, again, extremely rare for me to say. Simon, the male character in this, he is the overprotective male. Now, again, this is the 1940s, so I do think he is a man of his time, but this is something that I don't like reading at all. I hate the touch or you die. Like, I am an emotionally independent woman. I do not need a guy to fight my battles for me, so I hate to see that in books. But with this, it is more so where I'm like, okay, this is 1946. It makes more sense. And she's like at the actual threat of danger, so it's not a huge hindrance like if it was in like a contemporary romance, but still kind of grinds my gears. Not really a huge fan of that. So when I bought this book, I thought this was historical fiction, but I have now since seen it listed as historical romance. I was trying to think of tropes for y'all. So marriage of convenience would be a trope. It literally says marriage of convenience on the back. It's like they don't want to admit they have feelings for each other. I don't know what you would call that. They don't want to admit they don't have feelings for each other, and they don't want to admit that they have feelings for each other. So they're kind of conflicted with their emotions. It's like, will they or won't they kind of thing. Also, this might be like a Christian book, because I was like, was this independently published? Because I'm not familiar with Thomas Nelson. And I saw on the blurb to Nashville, yeah, the trademark of HarperCollins Christian Publishing. Now, there's been no talks of God or anything in this, but I thought that was interesting. And did I even have that as a note? No, I didn't. But also, Almost Famous comparison, which is crazy to think about, but in Almost Famous, how Penny Lane and William, he's always asking her, he's like, what's your real name, or how old are you really, like trying to get stuff out of her. And you see that a lot in here, like they're always like, tell me a secret. And that kind of reminded me of those vibes. So if you like those vibes in Almost Famous, you might like the vibes in the Mozart. I thought the lighting would be worse right now, but it's actually very good. But I got to, it's Tuesday, January 6th. I got to the halfway point in Thrall. And this is honestly somewhere between a 2 and a 3, because I do like the idea of what the author is doing here. She is really looking at, it says, explores the historical, cultural, and social forces that determine the roles which a mixed race daughter and her white father are consigned, and looking back like at history as it's a history, culture, looking back and then comparing it to her own story, and then it's poetry. But I didn't know a lot of these are based on paintings. Like, it will say the painting name and the year and everything, and I didn't know that going into this. So I'm reading this and I'm like, so I feel like I'm missing something, is what I'm trying to say. I just wish I would have known that before reading the book, because it doesn't say anywhere that that's what this book is doing. So I feel like there's a part that is just missing. Maybe they could have even included like a picture of the painting or something like that. The author, the poet, is doing a great job at describing, because I do get an image in my head. No, I have no idea if it actually is looking like the painting or not. I know I could look it up, but that's just an extra step. It's good. This would be a maybe if we're doing yes, no, or maybe. I've been very productive today. We finally, because y'all know my dad, I only say is extremely lazy. He says he'll do something and never does it. And we've had this chair that I don't even know. Okay, the cushion got moved because Delilah peed on the couch, so we took the bad cushion off and my dad put this cushion for the chair on that. Bad, I know, like, you shouldn't do that. You should get the one washed. But we don't have a washer and dryer, and he doesn't want to get a washer and dryer because somebody would have to come into our house to clean the little hole where all the stuff goes. We had this chair that has no cushion, so we just put like the cats' little houses on it and everything. But the cats, they continuously claw this chair, because it got to a point where I'm like, it's so bad, I'm just gonna let them claw, because my dad kept being like, we'll get rid of the chair, we'll get rid of the chair. Today, we find, I swear I cover when there's people around, but we finally got rid of the chair. We finally got rid of that chair, and yeah, so it's gone. And the other thing, so you know, I've been sick, haven't been able to really like deep clean my bathroom, and today I finally got to deep clean, and it felt so good, and it looks so good. I'm so happy. I am gonna like kind of clean up my desk, because there's just, not clean, but you know, it's just kind of, there's clutter. Like, I need to put my pins where they need to go and all of that. And I can't wait to get this Christmas tree out of here, which, I mean, I know some of you are probably so shocked, but I mean, there's a season for everything. Christmas won't be special. It was here all the time, because I just want space. I don't have a lot of space in this room. I was saying it earlier, I hate that I had to move into this room because somebody else, like, I wish that I could have stayed in my old room, and my dad, if I told him that, he'd be like, okay, you can switch, but I'm like, okay, I have all these bookshelves in there, and it wouldn't work. I just don't have a lot of space, and a Christmas tree takes up space, but I'm basically doing one box a day, because then I found out, oh, I can't go to my storage unit this weekend because my dad has plans, so that's fun. Sorry for being such a Debbie Downer, but this is where I get to vent and rant. So we're gonna have boxes sitting in the living room until next Saturday. Fun. I'm doing like one box a day essentially, and my dad did not have the garage clicker today, so I can't get into the garage to get more of the boxes, so my Christmas tree is stuck here, and that's why I've kind of been hesitant cleaning my desk, because the tree's right there, and I have to move stuff and everything. But there's the rant. Hopefully that's the only rant in this vlog. I don't want to go on any more rants. I don't like to go on rants. I don't like to be mad. I'm not mad, but you know, I don't like to be annoyed with things. I'm just saying, my main complaint is not having space. I own too much stuff, and I hate holidays. Like, because you get gifts, and like for some stuff I'm just like, I have nowhere to put anything, and I know it's my fault, but because yeah, there was a vacuum we got rid of as well, and a computer monitor, and I was like, wait, could I plug my PlayStation now? My dad was like, I'm gonna get you a TV for your PlayStation, but I'm like, where am I gonna put a TV? Like, literally, I have nowhere to put a TV. But then I was like, with this monitor, I'm like, I don't have a desk to put this on either, so I guess I will just donate the monitor because I don't have anywhere to put it. Yeah, so whoever built this house, I say it all the time, they did an awful job, because there's no wall space in here. I have 2 doors over there, closets, 2 doors, 2 windows here. There's no room to put anything, and I just have too much junk. And I'm going on 6 minutes now, so I'm gonna shut up. I got my room organized. We're back at my desk. We love it. So I'm kind of sorry. Like, I feel bad about the rant that I filmed earlier. I feel like I was just kind of rude. Like, this week has been bitter. I've been bitter, but I've been productive. And the more I'm productive, the more I get things done. It makes me feel better. So that's a good thing. But I read 60 pages in I Who Have Never Known Men. There is 53 pages left. I don't know if that's counting the afterword. I think it is. So yeah, counting the afterword, and I do intend to read the afterword. And so I'm reading 60 pages a day pretty much in here. And yeah, I am loving this. I don't think it's a full 5-star. I think it's somewhere in the 4-star range. We will have to see though, because I mean, there's still, you know, basically a quarter of the book left. I think I'm at 67%. One said 57%, one said 67%. Y'all know the apps only tell you all different things, so we will just have to see what happens in these last 50 pages of the book. I am really enjoying this, so we will be going over my notes that I took today. Took one on page 2, so I'm wondering, like, if they're not on Earth, are the like guards in the prison, what if they're not even human? What if they're not even real? I didn't even have the thought of like AI, like hologram figures, but I just had that thought, like, what if that's what that was? It's literally just, the mind is doing a lot of work reading this. This is one that again, reminds me of just that primitive part of being human. It's 2 paragraphs, mind you, so here we go. Hopefully the throat can take it. My throat's not sore, by the way, just the coughing, but okay. I awoke in the middle of the night. I was amazed. It was dark. With my eyes wide open, I could barely see my own hands. The sky was a dark mass and rather frightening, as if it might fall in. It took me ages to realize that once again, it was very overcast. I felt oppressed and tried to reassure myself by remembering what the women had told me about the stars, which are so far away, the constellations and the galaxies. But then another anxiety assailed me, the sense of an infinite void, vertigo, and the fear of falling in this strange darkness, spinning endlessly in nothingness. I curled into a ball as if to protect myself and became aware that I was lying close to another woman, that I was touching her. That made me start, and I instinctively moved away because of the whip. I'm going to cut it off there because I think that it can kind of get in spoilery territory, but just the universe, like, I've talked about before, I don't like being outside alone at nighttime. Even like, I can be literally on my back porch. I don't like that feeling. It freaks me out. And I think this perfectly summed it up. Another theory that I've had, what if this is purgatory? Don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's a common theory or anything, but what if it's purgatory? Right here, had it not been for an incredible stroke of luck, and so much of life is just a stroke of luck. I do think everything, you know, happens for a reason. That's how I think the world works, but I do think so much of it does fall back on luck. And I don't know, can those things happen at the same time, luck and destiny? And we used to have, when I was in school in like Bible class, we had great discussions about free will and destiny. Yeah, it's a cool discussion to have, fun discussion to have. And then there was a part where they are talking about like Christianity in the book. Again, we're not talking about my Bible class anymore. And it was, so Anthea explained to me that it was a sign of Christianity, the religion of our ancestors, talking about the cross. And they said their ancestors, not them. So I'm like, did they mean just like their parents, and now that, you know, they're in wherever they are and religion isn't really a thing? Or is this very far off into the future? Because again, I'm not sure when this book was published, but I was picturing this, you know, like in the last century, in the 1900s, sometime like probably like 60s, 70s, you know, that time era is when I was picturing this. And obviously people were Christians back then. Religion did exist back then, but now I'm like, our ancestors. I'm not sure. And I feel like that light is kind of like flickery, like pulsing maybe. Not pulsing, that's like Stranger Things. I don't know. So I'm sorry if maybe there's like a strobing effect. Much of this just reminds me of womanhood. Like, you know, you see things talking about girlhood and just being a girl. Yeah, those vibes are strong in here. I even get slight whimsy vibes of just being out in nature, because like that is where we were created to be. We were made to be out frolicking in the forest, in the rivers, like, yes, that's like all a girl wants in life. I know not everybody's like that, but yeah, I would love just to run around in the woods. We can't do that because I live somewhere where people hunt and I'm not trying to get shot. But much of this book is womanhood and what makes you a woman. I mean, I think the ultimate theme here is humanity and what makes humanity, what is humanity. But also, since all the characters are women, is womanhood, girlhood, just girly things. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Women, we're powerful, we're beautiful. But something that keeps coming up, even on like the first few pages of the book, is a mention. Okay, I see this was published. I'm seeing the publication date, 1995. So I don't know if this was in the 90s or not. Totally did not mean to open it up to that. But cancer has been mentioned multiple times. And then just like, okay, we'll get to the other point in a minute. And I'm like, is this a nuclear wasteland? Because we know nuclear radiation and radiation can cause cancer. So I'm wondering if this place where we're at, and you know, bunkers, people go into bunkers. I mean, I know not every time somebody goes into a bunker it's because of bombings. Nuclear wasteland that they are in, and it's having an impact on their bodies. Survival is no more than putting off the moment of death. Literally. I never thought about it like that. The death of a character, I felt sad. No, I didn't cry, but I was just like, I feel sad because I do think that character might have been my favorite character. Instance of somebody having a condition, a health thing happen, and I'm like, is this, I don't know if nuclear radiation can cause what happened here, but I'm like, maybe. I feel like it could. So that is all for the, or for I Who Have Never Known Men. Yeah, I am really enjoying this at this point. Yeah, definitely recommend it. Yeah, I think a lot of people will definitely love this book, and obviously a lot of people do. I just saw Brady, who I watch over on Book Talk, love her videos so much. She was doing like her superlatives, is that how you say that word? I don't think I've ever said that word out loud, for her, what she read in 2025, and she said that this one was tied with Wild Dark Shore for her favorite books, her favorite book of the year. But that is all for now. I definitely won't have an update for Mozart Code later, so I will most likely see y'all tomorrow. Finished I Who Have Never Known Men. This was a 5-star read. Today was the day when I realized like this is a fantastic book, and my only issue with the book isn't really hindering my reading experience whatsoever. So we are going to still like go through Call Pal, just because that's an easy way for me to do a review. Positive. So with the characters, one of my favorite things that science fiction can do is show us what it means to be human. And that is what we're seeing with the characters in this book. We are dissecting what it means to be a human, what it means to be a woman. And in the afterword, it talks about, can you still be human when everything is stripped away? It says, she is a pure experiment, asking, what does a person become when stripped to the core, raised in isolation? If you just take away like everything we know as a human, are we still human? If we don't have certain things, are we still a human? Like, this has just reinvented that question in a way, because there's just so many things I've never thought of somebody being raised in isolation, no parents, no concept of the world around them, no concept of what life was like before. And again, just stripping humanity down to its core. I've never seen that done before, because I've read a lot of books. I really think of Philip K. Dick when I think of the books that are like what makes us human. And I really think of like a lot of sci-fi that has to do with aliens and that kind of thing, where this is sci-fi, this is speculative fiction, but it's just told in such a different way. And as I keep saying, like, womanhood is a huge thing in this book where we have like a handful of male characters, and it's really just seeing them through the view of a woman. Like, the way we see them is just not, like, we're not seeing their perspective and things like that of what goes into being a woman and the best parts of being a woman, and thinking of what the world would be like without a patriarchy. We love it. I love it so much. Just so much with like the feminist reading that I've done in the last, let's say like 6 to 7 months. This goes in with that. Like, this goes into that category of great feminist literature. And I know like some people are gonna hear feminist and it's gonna turn them off. Well, sorry. Like, I do think this is a piece of feminist literature. Atmosphere, I did love the atmosphere, and this is such a desolate, like, we start out our story in a bunker with literally no windows, just gray walls, gray floor. That is our setting. That is how this atmosphere starts, so desolate, bleak. We get out of that and we go into this, I personally think it's a nuclear wasteland, but we go into this wasteland, and it's even, I even struggle to call it that because I do think it can be this beautiful thing, but it's just like this really like rocky world where there's nothing. There's no civilization. So it's like, how can that be beautiful? But there's so many questions, so many theories that are being made, but I can still just picture it being so beautiful, of making their own society and just seeing these women live their lives without the constraints that our society has. Now, the writing is where it got a little iffy for me, because this writing style, I think a lot of people are going to struggle with, because it is like stream of consciousness, pretty much, that it is very like, here's a good like example. You see how long these paragraphs are. There's no chapters. So that is why I would recommend the audiobook. I do think the narrator, I'm sorry, I'm not remembering her name. Like the narrator did a very good job, but where was I going with that? The writing. Okay. The audiobook does section it into parts, and since this is my book club pick, if you guys do want my spoilery thoughts, they are down in the Fable link in the description of this video. Audiobook is sectioned into parts, and they usually do happen at big plot points, so I did do that for the book club because I do know some of the members are reading the book physically, so I did want to get down in the parts so we can put our notes and not have it get spoiled for people who might not be at that part yet. So originally I do every like 25 pages, but when I saw the audiobook was in parts, I'm like, okay, the audiobook people think this is good, then it should be good. And I do think it is working quite well. So as I said, it is like very stream of consciousness. There's no chapters, but there were parts where our character is learning, because again, as I said, this is stripped to its core. She has not gone to school. She might have before this disaster happened that caused all of this, but she has no recollection of how to read, how to write, how to do math, how to tell time, because there's no clocks. How do you tell time? They don't even know if the time schedule that they are on is based on how we tell time in the 24-hour time span. They do not know, because there's no sunlight, and that is how basic humans, learn to tell time, is where the sun is in the sky. They're in a bunker. They cannot tell time. And when we are just getting the lessons of the character, the narrator, learning about grammar and again, time, math, heart rate or pulse or whatever, I don't know, when you count that just, I was like, okay, this is going over my head, because I mean, it's such basic things that we know how to do and that we understand, where it's just kind of tedious to read that. Also, that's another thing. There's so much that we take for granted in our life, like the things I was just saying. No, I know obviously not everybody is blessed to be able to know how to read and do math and grammar, and that it's different for everybody, because people are on all sorts of spectrums, but there's such little things, because sunlight, they don't have it in the bunker. We take that for granted every day. I'm sure the majority of people don't think, oh, the sun is so beautiful, I'm so glad to be in the sunlight. Like, we take things for granted. It's crazy. So then we had the plot. I think I've really talked about the plot. I think the character work and the plot really go hand in hand with the themes of ideas of just exploring this world, coming to terms with what it means to be human. Like, our character is legit coming to terms with it as we, the reader, also come to terms with it. Intrigue, fantastic. This is a book that I kept wanting to get back to, like, because, you know, obviously I can just... I mean, I guess I could sit and read it all day, but I had chores to do. I had to walk my dog. I had to go to the store. You know, I had things to do, but I was thinking of this book. I was like, I want to get back into that book. And just the theories that, as I said, I am reading this with my book club, that we're coming up with are so fascinating, and I cannot wait to go on the internet and see all different people's kinds of theories and everything, because it's just so interesting to think of how did they get in this situation. Yeah, this is very open-ended, and when I heard that, I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'm gonna like that, because I am like a very logical person. I like everything to tie together. I like things to be answered. So, and I think our characters in some ways are like that, and it gets very frustrating for them not being able to get answers, or to get an understanding of what is happening to them. And this is just so incredibly fascinating. It's so fascinating. So logic, that goes in with the logic. I think that it's not going to work for everybody, and that is something that typically doesn't work for me, but here it did work quite well. And enjoyment, obviously you can see that I love this book. I loved the questions that it brought up, and it just rewired things. This was published in 1995. It went out of publication and has come back and has been translated into English, because like, so many more people are going to be getting it. I don't know what language this was originally written in, because the author, French. Okay, this was originally written in French, because the author was from Belgium and fled to Casablanca with her family during World War II because she was Jewish and was fleeing from the Nazis. They talk about that in the afterword as well. Sophie McIntosh, I don't know who that is, but I'm definitely going to have to look into her. She's someone who wrote the afterword, and I was even annotating in the afterword. So I know I didn't go through like this last batch of notes that I read today. These will be on Fable again if you guys would like to check out my spoilery thoughts over there. So this is me saying there's going to be spoilers. There's going to be spoilers, but on the YouTube video, no spoilers whatsoever. This is actually a book that I did get spoiled for me. I was on TikTok. I never really look into the captions on the TikTok video. I'm just like, you know, stuff is written on the screen, and I saw that this creator was doing a review of the book, and then she just starts going into it, and I was like, this is a lot of detail. And I know this book is only 173 pages. I mean, I didn't know that back then, but I knew it was a slim book, and I was like, I think I need to exit out of this, because it was a spoilery review and I didn't realize it. But no spoilers in my YouTube video. We don't do that here. But I love this. Definitely recommend it. Go pick it. It's Thursday, but I really need a new stool to sit on. I sat on this, and it kind of collapsed almost, and it was very scary. I would have fell on the bed, but that got the heart going. That got the heart going. I'm not going to start my next TBR read, because since we are reading such short books, if I start it now, you would only hear about the first like quarter of the book or whatever, the first third of the book actually, and not hear about the rest, and therefore I wouldn't have a theme for next week's vlog. We're going to start that on Monday. What I'm going to do is read the Mozart Code for the rest of the day, rest of the week, until Monday when we start Jawbone by Megan Greeley. We'll talk more about that book at the end of the vlog, but I am going to focus now on the Mozart Code. I do think it's possible that I could finish this book today. I am somewhere in like the 60% ballpark. I don't know if I'm going to finish or not. I am doing the audiobook. I'm going to head outside because it is in the 70s here. I don't know exactly what the temperature is, but it's nice and warm. And we love that, because after Christmas, I'm like, get rid of the cold. Don't need it. Don't want it. I only want it cold at Christmas time. After that, give me spring, give me warm weather. And that's what we got. So shout out to the man in the sky who makes the weather. It is time for our nightly update. So I got to like 94% of the Mozart Code. I only have 20 pages left. Just don't have enough time to finish it today, because as I said, it is nighttime and almost time for bed. I will be finishing this tomorrow, so my review will be up on all the bookish social medias sometime tomorrow afternoon for those of you who are interested. But let's go through the notes that I have taken in the last quarter of the book, or the third quarter, because this is between 50 and 75% of the book, I think. No, I don't know. The math is irrelevant. My big prediction for what the main mystery in this, it was right. Yeah, this one character was just way too good to be true for this kind of situation that our characters are in and the things that they're doing. I'm like, there's something up with this guy. These characters, they are afraid of love. So if that's something you like in romance, but yes, if you are predominantly a romance reader and want to try thrillers or historical fiction, I think this would be a great place to start, because there's the romance and the feelings and emotions between these two characters does play a really big part of the story, probably the biggest part, if I'm being honest with y'all. There's so much paranoia in this book between the romance, and as I was saying, they are afraid to fall in love with one another, and they do have their reasons, so those are explained. But yeah, being afraid to fall in love, it's sad to think about, but it's so many people, so many of us can relate to that. Paranoia. This is like a spy novel, as I said, but I was gonna say more commercial, but I don't think that is the case, because I do think a lot of spy novels, I don't know, like James Patterson, you know, those kind of books that like my grandma used to read, those are commercial. It's a paranoia, but there's one thing. All of these characters are rather shallow, if you ask me, where I think there's a lot of potential, especially in the character of Simon, but it just wasn't built upon. Our main female character, what is Sophie? She is a Mary Sue. She has no flaws. She's so tall. She's taller than all the other women. She's a perfect shot like Nancy Wheeler. She is, when you can use both hands, and that makes her like such a great spy or whatever. So she's perfect. Literally no flaws whatsoever. And there's some things I do like about her, but I'm like, there's nothing, she's perfect. With Simon, he is, as I said, like the overprotective man. I think he's immature. That's something with a lot of these characters I find to be really immature, but I do have to remember the time period. But for the jobs and roles and setting that they're in, like these like jobs that they're working, I would just expect them to be more mature and be more level-headed, but no, that's not the case. But I guess if you have a very important job, it doesn't matter if you're mature or not. But I don't understand why Simon is responsible for all these people. Diana, her husband, what was his name? Is it Brent? I don't know. I don't remember what that guy's name is. But then Sophie, which we do know, because you know they're the couple in this book. But I don't understand why he feels so responsible for all these people, and I don't understand why Diana and her husband are in Vienna. It just isn't built upon. These characters are not developed. Main plot point in here of what I think is the main plot point, so predictable, and everything, the fallout from that, very predictable, which, I mean, this is kind of a thriller, and I feel like thrillers shouldn't be too predictable. But something I did find interesting, because I do think this is like a love letter to Vienna, and Vienna in this time period, because I didn't know a lot of this. And at the start, there is a lot of info dumping at the start of what Eastern Europe is like after the Nazis, after the war. The Americans, the French, the English, the Russians, all coming into these cities like Prague and Vienna, trying to have control, being like, okay, well, the Russians, you know, they're like, we want to make this a communist city. The everybody else, you know, the Western countries are like, we want them to be like a Western city. Not caring what the actual people of these countries want for their countries. The East, Russia, and then the West are trying to manipulate these elections, and I thought that was really interesting. I never thought about that, because the country that I always think of with rebuild, or the countries, I think like France, I think the Netherlands, Belgium, those kind of countries over there, who are in the West. I never thought about the countries in the eastern part of Europe, of what happened to them after the Nazis got out of there, what happened. And I didn't realize all these other countries were coming in trying to manipulate them, kind of doing regime changes. Again, sounds familiar. So that is all for the Mozart Code. I don't know if I said, but I read 86 pages in there. So we are going to go through the weekly wrap up for you guys. I've read over 100 pages 2 days this week, and it does look like today I will be reading over 100 pages as well, because I've read 99 pages so far today, and I do plan on picking up my ebook later. I completed one book this week, being I Who Have Never Known Men. So I do want to give y'all a bit of a sneak peek. I do have notes here because I always forget things I want to say at the end of the vlog. So the sneak peek for next week's vlog, we are going to be reading the shortest science fiction book on my TBR according to Goodreads. That book is called Jawbone by Megan Greeley. I was going to do this as an ebook, but I have since found out it is not available on Kindle, and the only version available is the paperback. So I will be reading the book physically, but it is the shortest book on my TBR, or my sci-fi TBR according to Goodreads. What is this book about? There is a contest for people to go to Mars. And for this contest, we have our main character of the book is filming an audition, like when people audition for TV shows and movies, you know, they do like those video auditions. So she's doing one of those, and this book is why she is the best candidate to go to Mars. That's what that book is about, and that's what we will be reading in next week's vlog. And now we have made it to the outro of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, the first vlog of 2026. And as if you made it through this whole video, leave a snow emoji in the comments below. It'd be fun. If you're in the southern hemisphere, do like a summary emoji, like the sun or something. That'd be kind of fun to do, because I know I have viewers down under as well, so shout out to them. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, comment, rate, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!